All right. In this video, we're gonna focus on partial fractions. But before we solve a question here on partial fractions, two things here. The first one here is to identify if that particular fraction is a proper fraction or improper fraction. Okay. The first one here is if it is a proper or improper fraction. Please take note. So whenever you want to solve any question on partial fraction, the first thing to consider is to know if the fraction is a proper fraction or an improper fraction. We are going to know when a fraction is a proper partial fraction and when it is an improper partial fraction. Okay. Now the next thing to consider here is the factors. Okay. The next thing, the factor of the partial fraction. All right. Now the next thing to consider here is the factor of the partial fraction. Of course, let's look into the first one, how to know when a partial fraction is a proper partial fraction and when it is an improper partial fraction. Okay. If I have two fractions like this, class, if I have two fractions like this, of course, fraction is any expression that consists of numerator and denominator. I hope you get that. So if I have two fractions like this, I have p of s and I have q of s. If the degree of the letter at the denominator, if the degree of the letter at denominator is greater than the degree of the letter at numerator, we call it proper partial fraction. Just like what we know, if I have something like this in mathematics, 1 over 2, this is proper fraction. If I have something like this, 3 over 4, this is proper fraction. So whenever you want to know if a partial fraction is an improper partial fraction or a proper partial fraction, is to identify the degree at the numerator and also identify the degree at denominator. So if the degree at numerator, that is p of s, is less than the degree at denominator, which is q of s, then we say that this partial fraction is a proper partial fraction. Sorry for that. Let's consider this, please. Let's consider this. So if I have a equation like this, class, I have 3s plus 2 over s squared plus 5s plus 6. The first thing I have to do here is to target their powers. The highest power at numerator is 1. This is 1 over. The highest power at denominator is 2. This is over 2. So if I have a fraction that is 1 over 2, is it proper or improper? So of course, it's going to be proper fraction. Okay. Now let's consider the next one again here. If I have something like this, a fraction like this, that is 2, equation 2 here. If I have this to be 4s squared plus 1 over s raised to the power of 3 or raised to the power of 3. Now at this point here, let's identify the highest power of s at numerator or the highest power of the letter. The letter might not be s here, it might be any letter at all. So what you have to do to know the fraction is to identify the highest power of that letter at the numerator and also identify the highest power of that letter at the denominator. So the highest power of s here, we are using s as the letter here. The highest power here is 2. So I'm going to have 2 over. Now, if you look into this letter here, class, please open your eyes here. If you look into this letter, this expression here, this is s plus 3, highest power of 3. So the highest power of s here is not 1. The reason is that if I open this bracket here, I will have the highest power to be 3 because 1 times this power here, this is a power, this is a power. So to get the total power will be 1 times this, just like if I have this to be a raised power of n times n. So the highest power of the total power of this will be this multiplied by this. So the power of s raised power of 1 times this power here, which is 3. I will have this will be s raised power of 3. So it means that the highest power at the denominator here is 3. So I will have this as 3. So if I have a fraction to be 2 over 3, is it numerator? Is it a proper or improper fraction? It will be proper fraction, okay? Now let's consider when a fraction is improper partial fraction, okay? Before we solve the equation here, please write improper partial fraction. Let's know how to identify improper partial fraction, okay? Improper partial fraction. Now, of course, for us to identify if a fraction is proper or improper partial fraction, we always identify that using the power. Please take note. So if I have fractions, if I have two fractions as v of s over q of s, if the degree of v of s is higher than or equal to the degree of q of s, we say that that particular fraction is improper partial fraction. Just like what you know, if I have this to be 3 over 2, of course, this is improper fraction, okay? Now, let's consider the fractions here to know how to identify them. So if I have something like this, if I have a fraction like this, class, I have a fraction like this, s squared plus 4s plus 1 over s plus 2. So the first thing I have to do here is to identify the highest power at numerator and identify the highest power at denominator. So the highest power here is 2 over 1. So this is going to be what? Improper partial fraction. So if I have equation like this, 2, I have 4s raised power of 3 plus 2s plus 1 over s raised power of 3 plus s squared plus 5. So from this particular question here, class, I will call this improper because the highest power at numerator is the same as the highest power at denominator. Remember, this is the condition for a partial fraction to be improper. When the fraction at the numerator, the power of the fraction at numerator is greater or equal to. So it's not only one condition, it's two conditions. Please take note. So if it is greater or equal to, it means that that particular partial fraction will be improper partial fraction. Please take note. So the highest power of s here at the numerator is 3, and the highest power of s at the denominator is 3. So we call this improper partial fraction. So now let's consider some questions here. Let's consider this question here to know how to classify partial fraction, either in proper fraction or improper fraction, okay? Now, earlier before now, I told us that whenever you want to identify a partial fraction to either be improper partial fraction or proper partial fraction, all you have to do is to know the total, the highest degree at the numerator, and also know the highest degree at denominator. So if the highest degree at denominator is greater than the highest degree at numerator, we call that particular fraction proper partial fraction. But if the highest degree at numerator is greater than the highest degree at denominator, or is equal in power, we call that particular fraction improper partial fraction. Okay. Now let's identify the highest degree here. For this, at the numerator here, which is this part here, the highest degree of s is 2. So this is 2 over the highest degree of s at the numerator is 2. So this will be over 2. So since they are equal, we call this class, we call this improper. Okay. Now let's go to this one here, this second one here. The highest degree of s at numerator is 2 over, remember? Now, the highest degree at s at denominator is not 1. It's not 1, please take note. For us to get the total, since it's squared here, for us to get the total power of s here at numerator, I'll times this power with this power here. Please take note, it will be 2. So this is going to be 2. So we have this to be 2 at numerator, 2 at denominator. So this will be improper. Please take note. Now let's look into the next one here, question 3. So the highest degree at numerator is 3. The highest degree at denominator is not 2. If you open this bracket here, to get the total power, this will times this. Okay, this will times this. This will times, so this time this will give us place of 3. So that means the highest degree at denominator is 3. Please take note. So I will also call this improper. So let's look at this one here. The highest degree at numerator is 1, and the highest degree at denominator, for us to get the highest degree here, I have to multiply this will be this s times this s to get the total power of s at denominator. This will be 2. So I'll call this proper. Please take note. So please, can you do this one here and tell me the answer on the comment section? Thank you.